Oh, mane pe me hung. Okay, good. Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for being here today. My name's Kathy Wesley, and I work here, and I'm happy to be part of the community here that provides I'm going to call it brain-saving practice of meditation. It could be life-saving, too. But anyway, our center has been, for the last almost 50 years, providing a place for people to meditate in Central Ohio. And I know that some of you will be joining us today from having visited our booth at ComFest this weekend. And so I want to say thanks for coming and looking us up and seeing about it. And it's just wonderful to see everybody here today. I always enjoy seeing folks when I'm at ComFest, and it's really great to see you come afterward as well. So thanks so much for that. And also, the talk I'm going to give today is hopefully going to be a talk that will be useful to you in your everyday life. Because I think that it's great to be able to meditate. Meditation is great, but then how do we live our daily lives? Because for a lot of people, there's a line that is between their meditation seat and their everyday life. Somehow the meditation seat is good and everyday life is questionable. Everyday life is complicated. Lots of things come at you in everyday life that may or may not come at you when you're sitting on your meditation seat. Although I will say that sometimes when I'm sitting on my meditation seat, if I'm agitated that particular day, it's going to be like the movies. Going to the movies and seeing, like, I don't know, half an hour of coming attractions, and you miss the feature, you know. In any case, the idea of meditation is to be able to let go and to relax the mind for a short period of time. I tell people start with a very small amount, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Start with a very short amount of time and then see how you do. Because some folks, they need more time to practice meditation before their mind calms down. Other people are better at the beginning. When they first sit down, everything's great. And then the longer they sit, the more difficult it becomes to maintain the technique. You know, it's a little tougher. And I asked my teacher about this, the founder of our center, Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche. He taught meditation to Westerners for more than 40 years, and so he kind of knew us really well. And he said, he described these two types of meditators. He said, there's the type of meditator when they first sit down, everything's great. And the longer they sit, the worse it gets. And he said, and those people should actually sit for shorter periods of time, more often in the day, rather than trying to sit one big, long time. And then he said, then there is going to be other people who, when they first sit down, it's a little challenging. It's very challenging for their attention span. They can't quite put it all together. They can't quite coordinate all of the facets of doing the technique. It's just too hard. But the longer they sit, the better it gets. He said, now those people, they do need to sit a little longer. Because he said, you really need to leave your meditation on good terms. In other words, leave your meditation without being angry at it. Because he said, if you leave your meditation and you're angry at your meditation, then he said, you're not going to want to come back and sit again. So he said, if you need to sit for a short period of time because you do well at the beginning and then it breaks up, well, that's fine. Just sit maybe once or twice a day instead of just one time. Sit a couple times, morning and evening maybe. And if it takes you a little while for your mind to kind of calm to the place where you can actually practice the technique, well, then you got to give yourself a little more time to do that. But in either event, what I like to advise people is that when you sit and meditate, that you tell yourself when you first sit down, I have all the time in the world. And I got this piece of advice from one of my meditation teachers, His Eminence Tai Sita Rinpoche. He said he sees so many Western students come to their cushion and they're very busy, they're very busy people, and when they come to the cushion, their minds are very busy, and it's a little bit, and they think of meditation as just another thing on a to-do list, and it can actually even feel a little burdensome. And he said, so in order to overcome that tendency to be busy and to not really be able to be able to practice the technique, because you've got all these things on your mind and you're like already, when you sit down, you're already into your next thing. Well, what am I going to do when this is over? Blah, 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 blah. He said, instead of doing all that, he said, give yourself a mental vacation. When you go to sit on your seat, give yourself a mental vacation by telling yourself, I got all the time in the world. I have all the time in the world to sit today. I'm just so glad to be here. And then that idea, just even telling yourself something, even if it's not 100% true for you, but just telling yourself that, because a lot of my friends say you have to fake it till you make it. And so this is one of the ways that you can do that, by telling yourself and setting your expectations when you first sit down. I'm just going to be sitting here and I'm going to do just this, and I'm going to do this for the next little while. That's my job. And what that does is it takes some of the pressure off of us, and it also allows us to be present with the technique. Now, many of you learned the technique in our classes, or maybe in classes you took elsewhere, in a yoga center maybe, or someplace else. But if you receive the meditation instruction here, the basic technique is to sit in a position where you're sitting fairly straight, and then to kind of, relax your shoulders and place your hands palm downward on your legs, and then bring your attention inside and take a deep breath to begin with, and then breathe out. And then perhaps you could use your breath as an object of meditation. As the breath comes in, you pay attention to it, you basically ride with it as it comes in and as it goes out. But there are other things that you can place your attention on. You can place your attention on sounds in the room. Maybe it's like the hum of the air conditioning system, or maybe it's something else. Maybe it's a television playing quietly in another part of the house. There's whatever, you place your attention on that, and then whenever your attention wanders from that object, then you bring it back gently. The point is that when you notice that you're not paying attention to the object anymore, when you realize, I'm no longer paying attention to the object, I'm thinking something, you don't scold yourself. My teacher said there's no point. Scolding yourself, it makes no sense. He said, be gentle with yourself. Be gentle with yourself, and just relax your mind and bring yourself gently. It's like you're an usher, at a wedding or something, and you're ushering somebody to their seat, You're just gently bringing your attention back again and again and again to the object without any judgment or blame. This is incredibly important, because if we treat ourselves with gentleness, this will actually make the meditation go better. It'll make the meditation go better. And we'll be able to be present with it better if we're non-judgmental and we're gentle. Not only that, it seems that if we're gentle with ourselves, then we actually start being gentle with other people. I don't know if you noticed this, if anybody who's been practicing this has noticed this, but you can actually start being gentle with other people. And I think that's a great benefit. So that's a little bit about meditation and why it's kind of a brain break for us from our usual connectivity. We're plugged into our phones, we're plugged into work, we're plugged into family, we're plugged into all these places that are vying for our attention. And let's not even start talking about all the advertising people who want and pay good money for our attention, We're always being plugged in outside of ourselves, and the meditation allows us to come home to who we really are, below consumerism, below ourself as a consumer of this or a consumer of that. We're actually basically here. And we're basically here, you could say we're basically here for the purpose of bringing about goodness for ourselves and goodness for other people. It's something that we can do. We can provide goodness for ourselves and provide goodness for other people. And being able to work with our minds in meditation is one facet of that. What people have told me is after they meditate for a while, they find that things that used to bother them a lot don't bother them nearly as much anymore, which I think is a benefit, a long-term benefit of meditation. Or some other people will tell me that they are actually more attentive to their family members, and they're more attentive to their clients, or they're more attentive to their workers, or they're just more attentive to themselves. And that these side effects of meditation can be very beneficial. Meditation is not about like zoning out and going somewhere, or maybe listening to the universe or something like that. It's not like that. It's about just being present with ourselves in a genuine, authentic way. So that's a little bit about meditation. And the reason I brought this up is because the topic that I chose to talk about today is one I've talked about before. And so for some of you, this will be a repeat. Sorry. It was a busy week. And a couple of the people I've talked to this week have told me they're feeling a little, shall we say, stressed out. Because there's a lot going on in the world today. And a lot of people are feeling stress. And it's understandable because things are changing, and not necessarily in a way that makes us feel happy, not necessarily in a way that makes us feel safe. So, of course, people are going to really be distressed by this. And so last week I talked a little bit about this. And I said that if I got to teach this week, I would teach the methods and techniques given to me by a Tibetan physician for working with stress that is happening right now, and I don't know what to do with it. We've all been there, right? We've all been in a stressful situation where something's coming at us right now, and we don't know what to do. And we're maybe feeling even a little overwhelmed. How do we deal with that feeling of being overwhelmed? And how does that work exactly? I mean, people will say, everybody says, oh, just chill. Just chill out, just chill. Like it's like that easy. Just chill. But how? How exactly do we chill? And this is part of what Dr. Julie and I'm sorry I talk about Dr. Julie so much, but she's amazing. Dr. Julie Brzezinski-Lewis is a brain researcher who works at University of West Virginia, and she comes up here and gives talks with me every year for the Center of Science and Industry COSI's Science Festival. And she is amazing because her understanding of the brain and how it works, why when we feel stress, we get a fight or flight impulse. Why does that happen? It's brain chemistry. And it makes us feel like we either have to stand and fight or we have to run away. And so when we get to that place in our brain, it's overwhelmed. And then what do? We don't know what to do because nobody trained us for this. I mean, we learned math. We learned math. We learned history. We learned writing and language and stuff, but we didn't learn how to deal with this. So that's the function of practices like the ones I'm going to share. Mindfulness, however we do it, whatever method of mindfulness meditation we use, it gives us space to intervene when things are happening. Because what do we do when we're sitting on our cushion and a thought comes up? Whether it's a thought about, oh yeah, when this meditation is over, I have to go feed the dog or whatever, I have to let the cat out, whatever. The idea is, regardless of what the object is, we we get a space when that thought arises, whether it's a thought of something mundane like feeding the pets or taking care of something at the house, or whether it's a big, hairy, ugly thought that comes from our subconscious mind, and it like threatens us. Remember this? And either one of these can be handled in the same way with the techniques of basic, quiet, sitting meditation. Mindfulness meditation teaches us that when we have these thoughts, we acknowledge their presence. We acknowledge their presence. In fact, we can even label them thinking. We don't have to categorize them as a good thought or as a bad thought. We just say thinking, and then we take our attention away from it and place our attention back on the object. And what this does is it gives us a fresh start in the meditation session. We may have had a little bit of mindfulness going, and then suddenly something from yesterday came up, and I have to deal with that. So it's like I'm dealing, and like, oh, wait a minute, I'm not meditating anymore. So I label it thinking, let it go, and come back, and so forth. This will sometimes not work with big, ugly, hairy thoughts. The big, ugly, hairy thoughts, it may not work with that, not right away, but over time, you'll get better at it. It takes time. At first, you're going to do this, thinking, and you put it away, and they're saying, ha, 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 no, and it comes back. So you'll have experiences like this when you meditate, but persistence, as the I Ching says, perseverance furthers. So we have to recognize that just being persistent and working with it is helpful. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that we disobey our mind and body's cues that it's time for self-care. Perhaps we're overwhelmed by that big, ugly, hairy thought, and we can't work with it. Maybe it's time to take a deep breath and relax your mind and go do something else. Just actually pick up and go do something else. So that, I think, it can be incredibly helpful. So being able to know and respect your limitations and know and respect those moments when you feel overwhelmed, that's really helpful. The practice of letting go of thoughts does give us a little spaciousness. We feel a little more space. We begin to feel that our thoughts are workable because after all that, we let go of those little ones. We may not have been able to let go of those big ones, but we let go of the little ones, and we did pretty good with that. We did well with that. But when we get overwhelmed, we have to have some intervention that is a little stronger than just labeling something thinking and trying to put it down. So back in the 1980s, we had a visitor here at Columbus KTC, a physician, a Tibetan doctor, and he was also a Tibetan Buddhist teacher and master. You may have seen his books, but it's doubtful because he didn't have that many. His name was Akhong Rinpoche, A-K-O-N-G, Akhong Rinpoche. And one of his students lived in Central Ohio at the time, and she invited him. And I can't remember if he came once or twice, but during his visit, he gave us these short meditations that I'm going to teach you today for quieting and working with the mind. And I made copies, and they will be at the back of the room, either on a chair or on one of the tables. And you'll be able to pick them up as you leave and be able to review them and work with them. I tell people, take these home, read them into your voice memos on your phone or your tablet, and then when you're feeling overwhelmed, hit the button, and then it will play. You will hear your own voice walking you through these exercises. It's almost like you're being your own best friend. It's like, oh, I get to tell myself how to chill. I feel empowered. Anyway, you get the idea. So he taught these, and they may be a little corny in it, but they also may be somewhat familiar to you. Anybody who has learned a technique that's used by psychiatrists and psychologists and counselors and therapists, and sometimes it's called square breathing, sometimes it's called box breathing. It has lots of different names, but it consists of breathing in to a count of 4 or 5 or whatever it is normal for you, then breathing out for a count of, holding for a count of 4 or 5, and then breathing out for a count of 4 or 5. And that's how he started his set of exercises, with this. And then this is all, interestingly enough, based on Tibetan medicine. He didn't explain all the ins and outs of it, so I'm short on that information. But the effectiveness of these practices has been really helpful. And after doing this little bit of square breathing, this little bit of that, then he has you imagine and work on what psychologists call a body scan, where you start at the top of your head and you work downward to your feet and then back up again, noting areas of your body where you are holding tension, where you're holding some tension in your body. And then after this procedure is done, you imagine that the tension drains out of your body and into the earth. But that's not where it ends. There's one additional exercise where he invites us to use our imagination and imagine that there is a gate or an archway or an opening in front of us into space. When he was teaching this, he said, you can make this archway anything you want. You can make it stone, you can make it out of light, you can make it out of anything. It's your doorway, it's your gateway, so you can make it any way you want. And he said, and then you imagine and work, you use your imagination to send all of your feelings through the gate. So, and then they transform, but I don't want to spoil it. So, but that's what the exercise does. It slows you down with the breathing. Then you note tension in your body and release it, and then you work with your feelings. Because a lot of our feelings get stuck in places in our body, and so doing the body scan allows us to let go of those that are deeply connected and so forth, and then we're able to do the emotional release that happens at the end. So I wanted to give you a review before I did the exercise with you of just what's going to happen, so you know. And if at any time during the exercise you feel a little uncomfortable or overwhelmed, it's fine. You can cease doing the exercise and just relax your mind, and we can talk about it later. You can stay after and we can talk about it. So because these exercises aren't for everyone, but even if you just work with the first 2 of the exercises, that's a good start, and you learn something each time you do it. So are you guys all right with being test subjects? Are you okay? Okay. This was so funny. When I met Dr. Julie, I had signed up to be part of a brain study at 2 universities, at Princeton in New Jersey and at Madison, Wisconsin, University of Wisconsin at Madison. So I participated in 2 brain studies, and I met her on the second one. This was in 2007. They wanted people who had done like 10,000 hours of meditation, and because I had done the 3-year retreat, I automatically qualified. So yeah, they gave me little exercises to do, and then put me in a fMRI chamber. If anybody's ever had a magnetic resonance imaging exam, you'll know that it's really interesting. You're in a little tube, and it's 2 hours in a tube, man, that was different. Anyhow, so, okay, so let's take a moment just to sort of establish the situation by placing, if you're sitting in a chair, placing your feet flat on the floor, hands palmward on the legs. If your feet don't touch the floor, put a cushion under them. And if you're sitting on the floor, place your legs in one of the cross-legged postures that help to give you a back that is straight. Then you work up through the body. The breastbone moves up a little bit, and it gives you a straight posture without your shoulders becoming hunched. The chin can be tucked in slightly, and the eyes can be cast downward several feet ahead, and you are gazing as opposed to looking. When you look at something, it's like you're boring a hole in it. We don't want that. Instead, we want you to have a diffuse gaze at the area where you're not focusing on a spot or anything in particular, just generally taking in the entire picture. Alternatively, if the visual bothers you, then you can lightly close your eyes. Unfortunately, you might fall asleep, but that's not the worst thing that could happen. So there we have it. The legs, the seat, the back, the shoulders, hands and arms, the chin, the gaze. Now there's an optional technique you can add to it, which is touching the tongue, the tip of the tongue, to the upper roof of your mouth, to the upper palate, the roof of your mouth, right behind your front teeth. And then you let your jaw relax. So for people who hold tension in their jaw, this is a good relaxation. So we begin this establishing the situation with the posture. Then we take one deep breath, breathe out, and then allow the breath to come and go as it naturally does. And we'll do that for just a moment. We'll do that for a moment or two. Okay, now we'll do the step that is called relaxing. Breathe in deeply to the count of 5. You can use your fingers to count, or 4, or 6, whatever is normal for you. Breathe in. And then you hold for the same amount of time, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you blow. You blow the air out to a count of 4. Breathe in. And you hold. Breathe out. Third time, in. Hold. Breathe out. A final time, breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Then you allow your breath to return to a natural rhythm. Now that we've done the relaxing, now we're going to go to the next step, which is titled feeling. We begin by feeling our body's contact with the chair or the floor, noticing where there is the most pressure, and sensing the slight movement that comes with breathing. And we'll do that for just a moment or two. Feeling the contact with the chair or the floor. Feeling the slight movement that comes with breathing. Now we will scan the body, beginning with the feet. Feel any sensations in the toes and the feet. Notice the left side and the right side together. Then move up through the feet, feeling any sensations that you have. Cold or warm, heavy, tingling, dull, sharp, and so on. Just noticing, not getting involved in telling stories about the feelings, but rather just feeling those sensations. Then we continue up the legs to the knees. Again, feeling any sensations in the body. Then the upper parts of the legs, feeling sensations. Noticing any places where there's tension. Then the hips. Then starting with the fingers, move up the hands and arms, left and right together. Move up the hands and arms to the shoulders. Then notice the base of the spine and move gradually upward, bit by bit, vertebrae by vertebrae. Not telling stories, simply feeling without labeling or analyzing anything. Up through the chest, the shoulders, the neck and throat, feeling inside and outside, then up to the mouth and the face. Travel with awareness through the various parts of the face and the head. Noting your attention, letting your attention come to rest on, and noting any bits of tension. And then letting your attention finally, at the end, come to rest at the very top of your head, in the center. Then reverse the flow of attention, but let the mind move a bit more quickly. Imagine the body is hollow and filled with water. A plug is pulled at your feet and the water drains out. Follow the line where the water would be from top to bottom, feeling the fields of sensation at each level, rather than taking the body part by part. Imagine that all of the tension is flowing out of you and into the ground. When you reach down through your legs and toes, when you finally reach your toes again, then you can relax and return your attention to the natural movement of the breath in the body as a whole. Simply be present with the movement of the breath. Now, the final part of the exercise is called openness. Place your attention on your out-breath. As you breathe out, imagine a gate opening out into space. See all of your thoughts and feelings flow outward through that gate. You don't really even have to have it connected to your breath. You can just feel this continuous flow of thoughts, emotions, and sensations. Whatever their original form, on the other side of the gate, they turn into golden light, the golden light of universal compassion. Think that this golden light of universal compassion fills the room you're in. This continuous flow of thoughts, feelings, and emotions come from you through the gate, and on the other side of the gate, they turn into the golden light of universal compassion. It fills your room. It touches you. It benefits you. It floods out through the rest of your home, into the street, into the city, into the world, into the universe. And this golden light benefits all who live. Just be present with the flow of the emotions and thoughts and feelings and the expansion of the golden light of universal compassion. Think that this light fulfills the needs of every person, every being. It gives them everything they need. Then the meditation concludes. Rest for a moment, and then the advice is to stretch your body completely. Stretch your body completely in every way. You can shake it if that's helpful. So, that's what the Tibetan doctor taught us. And I have to tell you, I have used these techniques myself more than once. It's kind of amazing. They're very, very helpful. And so I'm really happy to be able to share those with you today, even in this little exercise. Now, we have a little bit more time, 10, 15 minutes if you like. And I can answer questions about this technique, or if you have comments or observations to make about your own experience of it, we have question microphones. And so you can, just step up to the mic. And if you want to make a line, you can make a line. And then we'll alternate mics if there's more than one. Yes. Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I didn't realize. Yeah. I think we're set. Yeah, go ahead. No, we're getting there.
Hello.
I know, he's good. There you go.
As always, you read my mind. It's really weird. Been through some really bad stress the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
And so this is weirdly perfect, exactly what I needed, because I actually felt a release a little bit, like from the stress.
Yeah.
So it's a question/comment. So I don't want to get too personal, but I recently had someone from my past who is no contact, we're both no contact, find a way to instigate contact by unblocking me so that they could show me their new profile picture.
I see.
With their new partner and the children that we had, we took care of together. They were her kids, but anyway, so it feels very vindictive. And so my question, or is there a mantra or anything pertaining to peacefulness, compassion, when you're dealing with these kinds of situations or people and that do these kind of things, the vindication and stuff? How do you find peace with that, knowing that,
I know, yeah. I'm sorry, first of all, I'm sorry this is happening, because, human beings were capable of so many good things, but we're also capable of so many cruel and horrible things. Something that, a talk that Lama Adam gave here some years back, there's two things to say. One is about how we see it, and then the other is about what we can do. So I have two answers. In his talk, Lama Adam was talking about the fact that he was trying to guess the motivations of a person. Why did they do this? And why did they do this, or why did they do that? And he kept coming up with like negative motivations on the part of the other person. And he talked to our teacher, Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche, about it. And Rinpoche said, well, I understand that you know them very well, so you think you know exactly what they're thinking and exactly what their intentions are, but that's not giving you much peace of mind. So he said, maybe what you could do is ascribe neutral motivation to them. Just be neutral. That they're just being themselves and being neutral. He said, because if you feed the story that they're an enemy and that they're hurting you, then it's a little hard for you, right? So he said, you need to find a different story that is neutral. He said, even if you can't, he said, of course, ideally, we would ascribe positive motivation to these things, but he said, that's not possible. He said, that's just not possible. So he said, just try to be neutral. If you can't be positive, be neutral. Well, that's not always possible, but I need to say it because in some cases, it's important to say this. Because for some people in some situations, this will make a change. This will give them some more peace of mind. It may not be the thing that will work in your situation. That's why I'm giving you the second thing, okay? Yeah, I never thought to do the neutral. Is that what you said? Yeah, I'll tell you what. It gives us a third alternative because I'll tell you what, I don't know about you, but I'm going to tell a little story on myself. Like, sometimes I'm like a concrete thinker, all or nothing, black or white, yes and no, And when really the situation is maybe a little more nuanced, it's someplace in between, right? And so because I tend to be overly concrete in my thinking, I would never have thought of the neutral either. It's like, no, that would never have occurred to me because it's like, it's either one or it's the other, right? So that's the first thing I wanted to share. Second thing I wanted to share was something that's helped me a lot. Because this, positive, negative, neutral thing, it doesn't always work for me, okay? Because of history and that kind of stuff. So there's another thing you can do that's incredibly helpful, and it is a mantra, actually. There is, the Tibetan tradition has as its main mantra, the mantra of compassion. The Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, or in Tibetan they call it Chenrezig. In other Asian traditions, she's known as Kuan Yin, or, and so whether you see it as being male or female or whatever, the idea is that you can say the mantra. You can say, in Tibetan, the mantra is Om, O-M, Mani, M-A-N-I, Om Mani. And then if you're saying it in Sanskrit, it's P as in Patricia, P-A, D as in David, M as in Mary, A as in apple, Padma, or Padma, Ani Padme. Oh, I'm sorry, May, M-E. Okay, let me spell that again. P-A-D-M-E, Padme. Oh no, Star Wars. It's a great Star Wars reference because there's a character in Star Wars named Padme. And yes, that's where they got it from. Okay, so there's a book called The Dharma of Star Wars, and if you haven't read it, which I haven't, but I've read about it. Anyway, The Dharma of Star Wars. It'll tell you all those different little intersections. So it's Om, O-M, Mani, M-A-N-I, Padme, P-A-D-M-E, Hum, H-U-M, Om Mani Padme Hum, and I'll write it down for you, and we'll try to put it in the notes notes on the YouTube, okay? And so that is the mantra of Chenrezig. It's a form of the Chenrezig's name, because usually, whether it's a Kuan Yin or a Chenrezig, the the bodhisattva is seen holding a lotus flower, which is symbolic of the beings who live in the world but are not stained by it, the being that really can hold love and compassion in their heart. And then that's the Padme, and the Mani, M-A-N-I, which is how Chenrezig is visualized as a male deity. The jewel is like our Buddha nature, which we all have, which we forget about because there's so much going on in our minds at any one time. We can't really relax into who we genuinely and actually are. So the holder of the jewel and the lotus is, and then Hum. Om is the body of the Buddha, Hum is the mind of the Buddha. Om Mani Padme Hum. So Om Mani Padme Hum is the mantra of Chenrezig. And what you can do is you can imagine either Chenrezig, Kuan Yin, or whoever above the head of the person you're having problems with. And imagine that the light comes from the form of the holy being and bathes them and removes all that is wrong and gives them all that is good. And you can see that for yourself as well, above your head, bathing you and giving you, removing all that's wrong and giving you all that's good. Does that make sense? Because I feel like that's a good practice to do, and you can do it every day or whenever it really grabs you. The feelings really grab you. You can just say Om Mani Padme Hum if you have no time for anything else. You know, Om Mani Padme Hum. One of the meanings of the word mantra is a protection for the mind, because it gives us something else to consider or think about that is better for us than the thing we're thinking about. Does that make sense?
I feel like this could apply to everybody, especially if you feel intense empathy for what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
You know, all the vindictive people out there.
Oh, I know. The questioner is talking about, I'm repeating for the recording, about all of the negativity that's going on in the world right now. There are so many people to consider, not just the individual people we're having trouble with, but the whole world is in need of this right now. And every Tuesday evening on Zoom, we do a Chenrezig chant. It's a Zoom only right now, but you can check us out on our website. Go to online programs and you can join in. There's a text and we put it on the screen, and Chenrezig's part of it. So, yeah, okay, so, you know, that way it gives us something constructive to do with how we're feeling. We're not running away from the feeling, but we're also not just like, exactly, reactive. Yeah, so, yeah, I appreciate the situation and I pray for all who are in it. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so first of all, I feel like so before I came here, I started doing meditations through YouTube, and I just do guided meditations. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is almost exactly like one of the meditations I did at home, because I think it was similar. It didn't have the gate and the space in it going up, but it was like compassion meditation, and so it started you know, I think with yourself and then your home, and then expand out into the city, and then your world eventually, this energy, this compassion.
Exactly.
And I was like, oh, this is the same thing. It's just a little different.
Yeah.
So there was that first thing, and then second thing that I didn't originally come up here for, but I'm gonna say it, I guess. Since it was mentioned, I think I have been through a similar situation as yours, where I have also had someone, not my partner, but I've just had someone in my life who I guess I have struggled to get along with, and I've tried to build bridges with that person, tried to come to a, you know, a middle way with that person. Yeah. And it's a little difficult because that person, I'm trying on my end to work with them, but they aren't. Yeah.
No, I understand.
And I guess it's I guess I could say I could share that suffering, and understand what you're going through, and in that sense I could also have compassion as well. And And I think a neutral stance, I can also agree, is like a good stance. Like, because, I don't know, I guess with this individual, I care about them and I love them from like afar.
Yeah,
But I also
that's
have
right.
to protect,
That's
you
right.
know, my own, I guess, balance. And so sometimes I do have to limit my my contact with that person, because unfortunately
Yeah.
it kind of like brings negative energy sometimes when we
Yeah.
exchange or talk to each other, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, I understand what you're saying, and I really appreciate the way you've stated it. And this reminds me of a lot of my friends in the 12-step recovery tradition. They talk about detaching with love, meaning that you are distant from the person that you're really in conflict with, but you can love them from a safe distance. And that's, I think, a good thing to do. And this is one of the benefits of the exercise of visualizing the bodhisattva of compassion over the head of the person that you're in conflict with, because that's a way to give them love and caring from afar, you know, and it also softens our thoughts about them so that we're not so harsh toward them, which can actually sometimes translate into harshness toward ourselves. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Right. And I'll even say that, like, I think even sometimes it's even just sadness too. It's almost sometimes even a grief, because it's
Yes.
like I want a
Yes.
relationship with that person.
I understand.
I want, you know, for us to get along and for us, you know, but it just
Yeah.
sometimes, unfortunately, it just hasn't really worked.
I know. Yeah, and I've been where you are, and I understand that. And again, just do what you can do, because we can't put an expectation on that person that they're going to return what we're giving, because then that creates a lack of peace within ourselves. So it's better just to bless them from a safe distance and just wait for time to pass. Because the Dalai Lama has said sometimes friends become enemies, and sometimes enemies become friends. He says, you never know. So thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for sharing. Yes.
Hi, Lama. Thank you for teaching.
Yeah.
I really liked the box breathing, and I really liked the body scan. I love those. I do those often. But I found myself having a lot of resistance to the gate practice.
Yeah, I understand.
Earlier this year, I was dealing with a lot of afflictive emotions, a lot of painful stuff that was coming up. And you know, I've been coming here for 5 years, and there's all kinds of different Dharma methods we can use to work with stuff. So I was trying to use all of them. And it wasn't really working, and now it's better. But one of the things I did was go to see a therapist, just sort of practical. And working with her, it's been a lot of, you know, we need to feel our emotions. We need to acknowledge them and be with them. So that this feeling of, you know, just kind of sending my stress and my anxiety sort of out the door, to me, it's got this feeling of spiritual bypassing. And I'm wondering if I'm misunderstanding the practice, or if maybe there's just a specific time or situation to use it.
And I do understand that, because the concept, and you can look this up on Google, of spiritual bypass, it's a real thing. It's a real thing where people, you know, they try to like meditate their problems away and that kind of thing. And they choose to use spiritual methods when therapy might really help them more. And here's what I'll tell you what the theme is that I see. I see a theme in this exercise of allowing, because you know, you're allowing your thoughts, feelings, and emotions to go through the gate, and on the other side they become the universal, the light, the golden light of universal compassion. And for me, I feel that is an acknowledgement of the basic enlightened nature of everything. Because we label them as negative thoughts and negative feelings and negative emotions. We labeled them that way. But we send not just the negative ones, we send all of them out. They're all going. All of them go. All of our thoughts, feelings, and emotions go, and they go through the gate, and on the other side they turn into this golden light, which really is, to me, a symbolic acknowledgement of the basic enlightened nature of everything. And so I see it not as a bypass, but as a recognition there's a line, there's a recognition of what we're really capable of at all times, always, which is always being able to be with the emotions in a way that is not going to hurt us. I think that being able to see things in perspective is not a bypass. Being able to reframe situations intellectually and understand situations from an intellectual point of view, that's not a bypass. It's a way of getting ourselves more information about how we could see the situation. And I feel like that what makes this not a bypass is if we can really do that with all emotions, the positive ones, the negative ones, everything from us becomes goodness, because that's what it could be. Yeah. So it's almost like we're seeing how the world could be if we can just open into the goodness of ourselves.
That makes sense, yeah. I hadn't been thinking all emotions. And you're right, I guess in that way, so it's giving a new perspective. So it's not the only perspective.
Right.
But so it's kind of seeing the emptiness, but on the other hand, then you need to take some other time during the day to sit and look at what you're actually sitting in the middle of and deal with the relative part of it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's there's I always see I'm kind of like the wrong person to talk to about this stuff sometimes, because I do have people who come and they say, "Oh, I'm going to use my meditation to take care of my emotional distress," and I always say, "Good. This is not a replacement for good therapy." Yeah. And then I acknowledge that I myself have been in therapy for more than 10 years. So it's like, no, you gotta go. You gotta go, because if you have something that you need support for, go get support. Go get support. Don't worry about it. It's like, go get support. Don't think, oh, somebody will think I'm not any good or blah, 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 blah. Whatever really unkind thing we say to ourselves in order to stop ourselves from doing the things we need to do. We have to find a way to acknowledge that we all need support sometimes, and going to get it when it's available, wow, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, yeah. How are we doing on time? Okay, we will take both questions, and these will be the last two questions today. Yes?
Okay, thank you for the meditation. Yeah. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do my best to describe my question. Let me know if there's anything that's not making sense.
Okay.
So I've been doing a lot of reading and research onto kind of non-duality and what is referred to in Buddhism as kind of emptiness. So I've been doing some guided meditations where it has you non-judgmentally observe sensations, the breath, your visual field, and things like that.
Yeah,
and
sure.
Then once you kind of get into it, it starts to ask you to look for who is observing.
Right.
Where's the one point in our mind that is observing these things that we are
Correct.
separate from? And what you find, and what I found, is you can't find it.
Right.
There is no, one being that is experience everything. And for me, it's been kind of confusing in a way, but also very, very freeing, because there is, I found that I have kind of adopted these stories about myself. I'm this person from this place. Right. I've experienced these things. I like these things. I dislike these things. Right. And through those meditations and kind of those readings, I start to feel like, well, there's this more of a flow of energy and experience rather than this kind of one being, one person that, So I'm sorry if I'm not explaining it super well.
No, you're doing great. You're doing great. But I want to know where where did you find that meditation?
So I do a lot through, it's called the Waking Up app.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I believe his name is Sam Harris.
Okay. Yeah. He's well known, right?
Yeah, he's well known. He kind of leads through it. It's very Buddhism related, but it's been very freeing. But the one thing I have struggled with is during my meditations, through that app, we're kind of taught to kind of just sit in openness once you get to it. Just observe the flow of where you're going. You don't really have to focus on one thing or try to control one thing.
Oh, I got it.
And so when I kind of try to do like a guided meditation with by myself, where I try to take myself through things, I kind of get fixated on the voice in my head not being me and
Oh, yeah.
observing that.
Oh,
So
yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
I kind of get into like a paradox and a cycle. So do you have
Sure.
any recommendations? Because I do want to
Yeah.
do like
Yeah.
compassion meditations, and I do think that involves some kind of
Yeah.
Guidedness through
It
yourself.
does, yeah.
Without getting fixated on,
Yeah.
well, this isn't me, so.
Right. Yeah. I think you've stated it very well.
Okay.
There's no confusion. You've stated it very well, and I feel as though I understand the question.
Yeah.
Now, if I give an answer that doesn't match your question, then we're in trouble. But I'm going to do my best, and that is that actually I have to say that this particular type of meditation is actually quite advanced, and it can cause confusion for people. And I remember being quite confused trying to do a meditation similar to this back when I was, I call myself a baby Buddhist, you know. I read a meditation in a book, and I tried doing it, and it got me all confused, and I went to my teacher and I said, I think I don't know who's thinking my thoughts. And he says, I think you need to stop doing this meditation. Because I got confused. I mean, who's thinking these thoughts? Is it me? Is it someone else? And he said, okay, this is obvious that you really need to stop doing this right now. So this is why I advise people to be quite careful, and it's very important that you discuss your experiences as you've done here. So you're doing exactly the right thing by asking these questions, is what I'm trying to say for starters. Because it can make some people confused, and so we have to acknowledge that. And I think that there is a book that will give some context to who you are. And I've recommended this book before. I really like it. It's called Karma, What It Is, What It Isn't, and Why It Matters. Again, Karma, What It Is, What It Isn't, and Why It Matters. And it's really, really a good book because it talks about the Buddha's basic philosophies about being. Because when he was a youngster, his religion taught him that a God had created his soul and had put it into his body, and that over a period of time he would slowly perfect himself, and then he could rejoin God. That was his purpose. That was the way soul was taught. But when the Buddha attained his enlightenment, he realized that wasn't how it was at all. And so then he had to explain, well, if you're not a soul created by a God that's going back there, then what are you? And he used the term that really helped me a lot, which was a stream of being. Okay, everybody in this room, you all have a stream of being. It's uniquely you. It was not created by anybody, and it can never be destroyed, which is great. Because that means we go through lots of different experiences, but our experiences are held together by our habits, is the way it's explained. And this is why we start out with a lot of bad habits, very selfish, mean, perhaps, habits. And the way Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche explained it to us once is he says, we start out with a lot of bad habits, and then we replace the bad habits with good habits. And then we look into the mind, and then we go beyond habit altogether, which I just think is awesome. And so we should have a chat about this to discuss further. And I'm happy to have a chat with you to discuss further. But I think that the resting in open awareness is actually, the way Mingyur Rinpoche teaches it is it should be short sessions of open awareness, not long. Okay. Because when you try to artificially prolong the moments of open awareness, you do become confused. Okay. Because Mingyur Rinpoche, when he was teaching recently at our home monastery at Karma Triana Dharma Chakra in Woodstock, he said the two things you need to have for something to be meditation, and not just kind of wandering around, or spaced out or zoned out, is view and intention. You have to know what your view is and what your intention is. So the idea is that we intend to rest with our mind in this state of openness, which he described as possibly being entered through the idea of becoming aware of your own awareness, which is very subtle and very unusual. But he said you can't be there for more than a few seconds. So then when it ends, just go back to regular quiet sitting meditation, and then you can return to it, and when it ends naturally, that's when you have to stop.
Okay.
You can't try to artificially prolong it, because that's where a lot of these meditations go off the rails.
Yeah.
Because if you can see what is the ambition that goes into wanting to make something bigger or more profound or longer in duration and span, you can see that this sort of self-fixation is what the Buddha said is the cause of our suffering, which is why we need to talk some more.
Yeah, definitely.
But
Okay.
I'm really, really glad you shared this experience. This is exactly what you should do when you do these types of meditations, and you have these type of experience. Talk to somebody who has experience with that, and then they can give you some guidelines and some suggestions. And this is why learning about the stream of being is good, but also learn about the Bodhisattva path.
Okay.
Because those are the habits. Remember, we start out with bad habits of selfishness, and then we replace those bad habits with good habits. Well, the good habits we're replacing them with are Bodhisattva motivation
I see.
and bodhicitta. So we have to talk some more. Okay, sorry. And I'm sorry, feel welcome to go if you need to, but yes, this is our last question. Hello. Hi.
Hi. Yeah.
So this is her question. What's the first one? Close to the mic.
Where is going Tara?
Where is white Tara or green? Where is she? Are you looking for her among the statues or here, or are you asking me where she is? Okay, she's in two places, actually three, okay? She's in three places. Number one, she's in the pure realm called Lotus Array. She's in a pure realm, okay? And you can't see it from here, but you can experience it when you pray to her. So that's one place where she is. But in the statues here, she's in this cabinet. You can see her picture here. And she's so beautiful. And she has one leg. Her right leg is out because she wants to get up and help somebody. And she's very swift, and she's fearless, absolutely fearless. And so she's in the place of wisdom and compassion and fearlessness. That's another place where she is. And she's also inside our heart. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Ah, fantastic. Thank you for asking. Thank you. Oh, that's wonderful. See, now you all learned where she is. She's in Lotus Array, the pure realm. She's here in a statue, and she's in our heart, and she actually lives in the realm of compassion, wisdom, and fearlessness. So, yeah, she gets around. Well, we'll stop here. And again, I really appreciate your flexibility and patience, being able to stay with us a little longer than usual. Let's sit quietly for just a moment. And I did forget all the prayers, so we'll just do a silent dedication of merit. We gather together the goodness of this session and make the aspiration that all beings everywhere are free from suffering of all kinds, and that they come to goodness, and then from goodness to awakening. And we dedicate our merit with this thought in mind. Okay, thank you. Thank you, thank you. And appreciate it, and it's wonderful to see you all. It really is. I'll be here, and hey, could someone do me a favor and be the helper to make sure that if anybody wants these, yeah, would you help? Oh, I like your shirt. Keep calm and enjoy art. All right, thanks very much. Thank you, sound department.